Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Sanhedrin, Heat Lightning, out March 14th on Metal Blade Records. The album has 9 tracks, 43 minutes in length, and this is the band's 4th full-length studio album. They are an American heavy metal band. Now, as far as the design of this record, there's not a lot to say. The album kind of speaks for itself. It's dynamic, it's fluid, it has great movement from track to track. It's an album that balances itself out as far as the quality, not necessarily as far as what each song gives you. And it's one of those records that is as good at the start as it is at the end. It doesn't lose quality, it doesn't allow the listener to lose interest in the record. It's an album that from a quality standpoint stays very concise and very compact across all 9 songs, creating a great experience as far as the individual tracks are concerned, but also creating a very good experience as far as the overall record goes. Now, as far as the sound on this album, I think you can say that this album brings in 3 different ideas or 3 different influences. Obviously, the main one being heavy metal. This is a classic. You could even go as far as to say this is a throwback to the 80s heavy metal sound. But it also brings in some doom and some goth rock elements, which brings darkness with it. And that's something that's consistent throughout the 9 songs on this album. Regardless of the tempo, regardless of the movement, regardless of where the songs are going from a construction standpoint, every single song on this record feels very dark. It has a dark ambiance to it. And that dark ambiance works really well for this record, for this combination of elements sound-wise, but even also from a lyrical standpoint. The lyrics on this record really call for a darker ambiance, for a darker sound, for a darker atmosphere that the record delivers in spades. I like this combination, and I like the way the production sits on this record because it allows all 3 to coexist perfectly in harmony with one another, and it also gives the record an old school feel, an old school vibe, without necessarily being an old school sounding record. The production pushes the album a little bit more to the present, but with the influences that the record has, you're always going to be taken back to a much different time. So this is the beauty of the album. It kind of finds a way of navigating between the past and the present. Great sounding album, specifically when you start to talk about guitars, drums. Guitars, first and foremost, the leading factor on the soundscape of this record. Let me just say the solos on this album, you can pick a song and it's going to have a great solo section. Really explosive solos in terms of the energy that they give to the songs that already have energy within them, but also allowing some of that darker, doomier vibe that some of the tracks have to be better represented in the solo sections. It's an album that has a lot of life, a lot of energy in that guitar sound, but it also has extreme quality in it. Great riffs, great solos, great melodies, a very guitar focused, a very guitar driven album that really brings the guitars to the forefront across each and every single song. And then you have that drum sound that compacts the sound at the back, that gives the record a little bit more depth. It's not a thin sounding album by no means. The guitars have a lot of thickness to them, and they have a lot of depth to them. And then when you add the drums into the picture, you have songs that just feel full, that feel like they have substance in them. And for this style, for this heavy metal, classic heavy metal approach with some doomier goth elements, it's really important for the songs to not feel thin, to not feel narrow, to feel like they have substance, to feel like they have depth. Because then you have the vocals coming on with Erica having a phenomenal performance. I think this is her best record vocally. Like, she's just phenomenally she's just phenomenal. Let's just put it that way. She's just phenomenal on this record in terms of what she adds, her delivery, changing ever so slightly, almost on a song-by-song basis to better emphasize the dynamics, not only musically of the track, but the dynamics vocally of the track. And I think this is so important, not to have a one-size-fits-all approach throughout the entire album. You need to be more connected at an emotional level with what the song is delivering, and then just adjust ever so slightly to what that emotional drive of the song is, so that the track overall feels more complete and feels more mature. So outstanding performance, by Erica on this album. Great vocal performance. I just love everything that this album has to deliver vocally, because it's just a pure representation of what everything that's already there from a lyrical standpoint, from a sound standpoint. One of the band's best records to date, if not their best record to date, and definitely the most complete album all around. Now, as far as favorite songs are concerned, this is tough because every song is my favorite song. I love this record. And let me start off with a track that immediately caught my attention, which is The Fight of Your Life. I love the more traditional, this is almost more of a rock song than it is a metal song. So I would say a hard rock, classic hard rock song. Because it has this great guitar sound that really drives the track. And it's not heavy necessarily, it's not thick necessarily, it's not chuggy, but it just has a great presence, a great drive, really igniting the song and really pushing the song forward, giving it this old school flavor, this old school approach. And then you have a chorus that jumps out both musically and vocally, emphasizing the 80s vibe that the song has. So when you listen to this track and you hear the sound, you hear the vocals, it feels like a classic song from the 80s. But then when you get to that chorus really nails it as far as bringing that era, bringing that vibe into the song, making the track feel very complete and very natural as it sits. And I mentioned earlier the guitar solos. Check out this track. The guitar solo on this track is phenomenal. Then we have my favorite song on the entire album, Let's Spill Some Blood. Great riff, great sound, great riff. I have to emphasize that. Great riff on this song, but great sound. The guitars and drums sit in two different places. There's a little bit of separation between the two, and then in that separation, or perhaps above that it's almost like a triangle. This song actually feels like a triangle. You have the two bottom vertices of the triangle being the guitars and drums, and the top one is the vocals. The way the vocals sit on this track, they feel a little bit separated, a little bit above the drums, a little bit closer perhaps to the guitars, but still above it. And this creates such a dynamic to the song. It makes the song have this dark feel to it, more so because of the way the vocals are delivered and because of the way the vocals sit in the mix. Just that alone adds a dark ambiance to the way the track comes across. It's very powerful, vocally very powerful, very liberating because of that ability to sit a little bit above the other elements that the track has, creating this perfect contrast in between, especially between the verses and the chorus, because the chorus definitely have that more emphasized dark ambiance, dark drive, specifically coming from the guitars and where the vocals sit. And then you have a chorus that feels a little bit more ignited, that feels a little bit bigger, with some backing vocals at the beginning of the chorus, and then they disappear. But that gives it that punch that allows the chorus to even jump out more and become more enigmatic and become a little bit more memorable. It's a very memorable track. It's a very catchy track, both sonically and vocally. And then if you're looking for another catchy song, High Threshold for Pain. It doesn't get catchier than this. One of the best riffs as well on the album. Great guitar sound on this song. This track is a little bit different from The Fight of Your Life. The Fight of Your Life felt more like a hard rock classic 80s song with that dark ambiance to it. This one sounds more like a classic 80s heavy metal song with a dark ambiance behind it. And this really falls on the shoulders of the guitars, of the guitar sound, but it's also a track that allows the drums and bass to pop quite a bit and become a little bit of their own element within the space of the sound on this track itself. It's a track that gives all of its pieces enough room to breathe and enough room to shine. And once you start to look at the sound of the drums and bass together, you also have a moment where the darkness now is not only driven by the guitars, but now it shifts and now it's driven by the drum and bass sound, creating a much deeper sense of darkness to the track that becomes defined afterwards by the vocal performance on it. I love the verses, but let's face the facts, this song really slowly builds up to that chorus. And when the chorus hits, the chorus sonically, but even vocally, actually sounds more like a thrash metal song than it does a heavy metal song. But I love that because you don't see that movement in the verses. So once you get to the chorus, the doors open, the guitars become even more free, even more open. Same thing with the vocals, and then you have more of that thrash riff and even thrash style vocal performance coming in to really separate one element from the other. Great track all around. Great riff, great sound, great vocals. This is it, Sanhedrin, Heat Lightning, out March 14th on Metal Blade Records. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. I'll see you all on the next one. Take care, guys.